Hello and welcome back to World of Tanks with Dsann. In today's video we'll be taking a look at this little beastie, the FV422 British Tier 10 medium tank. Now originally I was going to do a full review, but because it is going to be changed to a Tier 8 premium and replace that Tier 10 in the not so distant future, I figured I'd just do a quick review to save myself some hassle and the fact that this is going to be invalid within the next few months probably. So without further ado, let's get on with this, shall we? So first thing to note, 1950 hit points. It's pretty much on par with the others, I think. A little bit high. Yeah, it's pretty much on par with the others. So it's got good hit points. 40 tons with an 810 horsepower engine gives it a phenomenally good power to weight ratio of 20.02. The only downside is the top speed is only 40 kilometers an hour. So while it's not the fastest top end, it is one of the fastest accelerating tanks in the game, and this thing can climb any hill with impunity. It is amazingly mobile. Couple that with the 50-degree traverse speed, which is phenomenally high for heavy. I mean, some of my mediums have lights even. What? Did I just say heavy? I'm an idiot. It's been a while, can you tell? I mean, this light here is 50 for crying out loud. So it is very maneuverable. It not so fast, but it turns on a dime. So not worth noting. It does have semi-decent armor. 121, 51, 32 on the hull. 196, 196, 35 on the turret. So this thing can bounce, but unlike the Centurions, it does not have a good gun mount. It doesn't have a gun mantlet at all, actually. So whereas they will use the gun mantlet as extra armor, this has only this little curved area. Now, for those of you observant, you can notice this flat area here, which I notice gets penetrated a lot, which I'll get back to that later. But I mean, it's 121 millimeters, but it's also at an extremely good slope, and I will take a look at Tank Inspector in a little bit, but we'll get to that towards the end. Lower plane, no really point to shooting at weak spots. I guess if you were going to shoot anything, aim for this if you're having a hard time penetrating the turret. Now, on to the juicy bits. This thing doesn't really have armor. It doesn't have all the world's speed either. It's mobile, as I said, but it's not very fast. But what it does have is a very, very, very fun gun. It's the same L7 that's on the Centurion 7.7 Mark 7.1, sorry. Kind of stumbling on my words today. 268 pen with 390 average damage, with a rate of fire of just shy of 7 rounds a minute. Now, that is extremely good for this alpha, and it gives it quite good DPM, which we will again see in Tank Inspector. Also, it has ridiculously good accuracy at 0.32 and a 2.1 second aim time main stat. This thing is almost as accurate as the Leopard. Not quite as accurate, if I remember correctly. I don't remember the stats off the top of my head. I could always take a quick gander. So I'm going to cheat and look here. Well, there you have the comparison. Yeah, so it's 0.02 accuracy less or more, and it's 0.2 seconds slower. So I mean, it's not that big a difference, and the rate of fire is a little bit higher, as I said. Yeah, so if we just take a quick gander at the tech tree, here we see it, it's gonna set you back 180,000 XP, and as per usual for most tier 10s, it is 6.1 million credits. So keep that in mind when you're saving up for one. Now, just as a short little thing before we go to the Tank Inspector, I would say this is one of my favorite tier 10 mediums. I say that every tank I get, though, that it's my favorite this and that, but the British tanks in general are great. The only one I've really had a hard time with is the Death Star, the FV215B183, because well, I just can't adapt to it. These things have DPM, they have the accuracy, they have the relative mobility to get around anywhere. I mean, sure, it's not as fast as something like my T62A over here, but I mean, it hits just as hard, and it's almost got the same rate of fire. Actually, what does the rate of fire on my... What is the rate of fire on this? Yeah, so it's only 2 rounds a minute less than a T62A, 140, all of them. So this thing is fun, surprisingly fun. I thought it was going to be terrible. It is less terrible than I thought, although it is squishy as hell, and it is rather large, which is a drawback, I suppose. So anyway, let's hop on to Tank Inspector, where we will continue this, and we'll see where we go from there. Okay, here we see it in Tank Inspector. Now, just going to quickly switch here. Now, what's interesting to note is while the turret has the highest armor of the tank, I mean, effectively, if you're getting shot in the gun area, which most tanks would be when you're firing hull down, for example, Here it's only a couple 100mm. I mean, once you hit the sides, it's ridiculous, but these are bounce angles here, but I mean, this is 200, and then this is an auto bounce area, so you're shooting at this thing, you want to try and hit here. Kind of in that area. This you want to forget about. I mean, unless you're head on, even then you have to have 247 plus pen. If he's angled even slightly, I mean, that's ridiculous. Try and go for here. This is interesting, though. It's got a little plate, 260 mils. Now, it does have side skirts, although, I mean, 6mm of side armor plus, side skirt plus 51 mils of side armor. Don't rely on stuff to bounce, obviously. Yeah, 198 there. Now, the side armor being 196, sorry, is a lie because this area exists, which is only 120. Which is very normal. I mean, a lot of tanks have composite turrets if we switch over to, say, the T-62A, which I had as me. Ah! What the hell happened there? That was a weird glitch. As you can see, this thing is layered turret as well. So, just bear that in mind. You want to shoot at the lower part of the turret. This area here. Anywhere here, really. Or here. Just avoid this bit here. And here, because you will bounce. Now, if we take a gander at the old stats, we're just going to switch it back to the medium tank reference. We can see that it has 2800 DPM, which is slightly above average, although it's still lower than, say, the STB-1 or the Russian mediums, which are ridiculous, but what are you going to do? Those are famous for that. Has a really good reload time of 8 seconds per shot. Carries good ammo load, actually, 72 rounds. Anything else we need to know here? Nope. So, accuracy with 100% crew is 0.307. Aim time is just over 2 seconds. Spread is pretty good. Vehicle move is pretty good. I don't actually understand all these stats, to be completely honest, but it has very good depression and elevation stats of 20 degrees up and 10 degrees down. Traverse speed of the gun, whatever. Turret traverse is 41 degrees, and the chassis traverse is 50, which means it's about 90 degrees a second. Mobility-wise, as I said, it's got really good specific power. Apologies. It's actually 3 horsepower per ton higher on average, a little under 3. Chassis traverse is actually slightly lower than the average, which is surprising. I thought 50 degrees per second was good, but whatever. Slow as hell compared to the average, though, so bear that in mind. But it has fantastic terrain resistance. That's one thing you want to know, is this thing goes up a hill like you wouldn't believe. Now, health, pretty much average. Got a pretty solid ammo rack. I don't think I remember being ammo racked in it. Here you can see all the stats again. Hull frontal is actually one of the higher ones. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know a lot of these stats by heart, I will be honest. One thing I forgot to mention is the 410 meter view range and the 782 meter signal distance, which is acceptable. I mean, it's pretty average for tier 10. And actually pretty good camo ratings from what I can tell. So, bear that in mind. Again, camo ratings is a stat you don't very often see in the game because of reasons. Now, shell prices are pretty expensive, all things considered. And there is one other thing I forgot to mention, which I will talk about once we get back to the garage. So, see you there. Okay, before we call it a day, I'm just going to point out one other thing. The more observant of you may have noticed that it says HE and HE there. And this thing does not in fact get high explosive anti-tank like every other L7 equipped tank in the game, except for the 7-1, which is basically the same gun kit. The Centurion 7-1 has the same gun, so it gets high explosive squash head or HESH for both ammo types. The only difference is one gets 100 double the penetration, which honestly is not worth the like 4 times the cost or whatever. 5 times the cost even. So that's the thing you want to know. I mean, not really a big issue. Mostly the APCR goes through anything. I mean, if you're having issues with 268mm of penetration, you probably should learn aiming a little bit better, because I really don't recall having much issue. I mean, if you're aiming at like the turret of, say, a T-62A, well, you're gonna have a bad time, but still. Anyway, I think that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like, favorite, and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter for all the updates and all that stuff. And I will see y'all next time.